Alright there, geezer, it's Jules here from FGS, home of the Future Game Show. And you know what? Recently I've been thinking about video game dialogue, or more specifically about video game dialogue that is so absolutely cold and chilling to the bone that it makes Dragon Ball Z's Freezer look positively welcoming by comparison. Yes, I am rewatching the series, and yes, I'm having the best time. But you know what? I'm not the only verbal superstar here at FGS, and so I've enlisted the help of the one and only stone cold classic James Daly, who's going to be joining me here with his own cuts of the coldest video game dialogue. So let's spin the wheels of steel and get ready to feel real bad in some cases, as I'm Jules.
And I'm James.
And these are the 10 coldest lines of video game dialogue ever.
Number 10, Fallout 3, we all have our own destinies. When Fallout 3 first released back in 2008, it took the post-apocalyptic series in a new direction. Abandoning the isometric CRPG formula for a first-person viewpoint, the result was a title that felt perfectly at home on contemporary consoles, with many people trying the series for the first time because of this. While praised for so many things, the enormous RPG that takes comfortably over 100 hours for most people to properly complete, and yes, that's complete, not roll credits, which takes about 20 odd hours, was criticised by many for its ending. Now, spoiler alert here for a 15-year-old game, you die. The game's finale sees you replicate the efforts of your father, played by Liam Neeson, and walk into a radiation-filled chamber to save everyone in a moment of pure Star Trek energy. This means to keep playing in the same file, you'll have to load up a save from just before the end, much like you would in your average Zelda game. However, there was a way around this sad fate. Get someone else to do it.
Woohoo! 4-day weekend!
Sentinel Sarah Lyons of the Brotherhood of Steel, that's the nice brotherhood who care about people, not the normal one, will begrudgingly take your place, albeit openly resenting you for being a coward. So most of us asked our friend Forks if he would do it, because he's a super mutant, so he's not going to be affected by radiation. However, Forks wasn't keen, instead imparting the following wisdom.
No, I'm sorry, my companion, but no. We all have our own destinies, and yours culminates here. I would not rob you of that.
What the fuck, Fox? After everything we've been through, you're going to watch me pointlessly march to my demise while you, a super mutant, who wouldn't be affected by it, are just going to stand there outside like a disinterested parent like... I thought we were friends, you sack of shit. For this reason, Fork's dialogue here is one of the coldest lines in a video game.
Number 9. No. Doom Eternal Ancient Gods DLC. So what we're going to do right now, my friend, is a little bit of roleplay. What I want you to do right now is imagine that you have made it all the way up to heaven. Yes, I know it's a long shot for me. You've just paid a tenner to St. Peter to let you through the pearly gates, listened to a free doot session thanks to all the angels pissing about with their trumpets, and then suddenly you feel a hand on your shoulder. Oh shit, it's God himself, which for this skit we're going to say looks like Jack Black. So you turn to God and he asks you, "Well, skibbity-doo-dab-doo-doo-doo, anything I can do for you? Any questions, any issues?" And you, utterly taken aback by that very weird phrasing, say, no? Well done, mate, you've just blown it with the big guy. Your one chance to find out about the meaning of life is now up in smoke, as now God is playing a toy saxophone rather obnoxiously in the faces of other party guests. And yet, when it comes to the Doomslayer meeting his literal maker, no becomes the most badass and coldest line in Doom history, as in his final meeting with the Dark Lord in the Ancient Gods DLC, he utters this one laser-focused line just after striking the final boss in the chest with a wrist blade.
Tell me, have you nothing to say to your creator before you strike him down? No.
This Doom guy doesn't care about the past or answers that may pertain to his future. His resolve is iron wrought. He doesn't look for others to give his life meaning with their explanations. No, my friend. He gains meaning in his life every time he smushes a demon's face into base elements or saves humanity from the brink of extinction. Absolute legend.
Number 8, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. What took you so long? It's a good time to be a Metal Gear Solid fan. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 has been announced and is releasing this year, Rumours are rampant a Volume 2 is in the works, meaning MGS4 could finally be coming to modern platforms. Frankly, I'm giddier than Solid Snake in a cardboard box factory. Even if you've never played a Metal Gear Solid game, you've probably heard the immortal line, "Kept you waiting, huh?" Because it's been used throughout the franchise so much, it's become a meme in its own right. Fitting then that in MGS5 The Phantom Pain, a game that's all about playing with your expectations, Hideo Kojima chose to flip the script. Early on in the game, main character Venom Snake, also referred to as Big Boss, embarks on a mission to save his friend and ally Kazuhira Miller from imprisonment. When you finally find him, a visibly feeble Kaz utters the line,
What took you so long?
It's a devastating moment in the game that demonstrates perfectly not just how long Kaz has been a prisoner, but how little hope he clearly had left. In a game and franchise full of incredible scenes, this poignant yet brutal moment really hits hard.
Number 7. BioShock Infinite. The Lord judges, I act. Now in truth, there are many lines of dialogue within the BioShock franchise that are absolute gems, so much so that it was actually hard nailing down which one was going to appear in this list. From the diatribes of Andrew Ryan, the lamentations of those stuck beneath the surface of Rapture's crushing oppression, and callous statements fired off by those abusing human genetics in their 9-to-5s, even the bloody vending machines in this place have got a right stinky attitude.
Return when you got some currency, fella!
Yet you know what often gets forgotten in the shuffle? The absolute chilling hostility that is the battle cry of the motorized patriots in BioShock Infinite, because their line of
The Lord judges, I act.
is stone cold, baby. This moment is so perfectly horrible because it not only showcases Columbia's utter reliance on scripture to guide the actions of its populace, but because it has been programmed by religious, racists. It's a bastardization of the message's original intent. Here, it is the programmers that are God, and their tool of air quotes righteousness is going to attack those that the human minds behind the machine deem unfit to live in their utopia. And that is absolutely horrifying.
Number 6. Pokemon Yellow. Your Pokemon don't look dead. When I got a copy of Pokemon Yellow back in the 90s, I was in awe. The Game Boy Color's critter-catching role-playing game was unlike anything I'd ever played before, and no doubt set me on the path to being the enormous RPG nerd I am today. Do you see what I mean? And now, for the sake of continuity, I've got to throw this back together again. Silly old me, and my silly old problems that I cause all the time. The thing is, as a kid, I missed a few bits. I wasn't mature enough to understand the true nature of everything, like the way I was making animals hurt one another for my own gain. Bit deep, I know, but I mean, we've all thought about it. Another detail I didn't pick up as a youngster was this line from rival character Blue when we meet him as we enter Lavender Town's Pokemon Tower. What brings you here? Your Pokemon don't look dead. I can at least make them faint. Let's go, pal! At the time, I thought he was just being rude because that's his vibe. Well, there's a theory that emerged about this exchange, and it adds a lot more weight to the event. The last time we fought Blue before this was aboard the SS Anne, where there's no Pokemon Center. Assuming you beat him, a dark chain of events follows. We next see him at what is effectively the game's only Pokemon graveyard, and the eagle-eyed of you will notice he no longer has his Rattata with him. In fact, the little purple rodent is never seen again. What we can infer from this is we killed the little creature during our heated battle on the bay, and Blue has just laid him to rest. Now I know what you're thinking, this is too dark for a Pokemon game, right? Well, considering the plot of Lavender Town has us help put a murdered Pokemon spirit to rest, is this really so hard to believe? And if you think Blue simply replaced the Rattata like many of us have done before, it's worth pointing out that there's only 5 in his party, meaning there's space for any potentially benched monsters. Agree or disagree with the theory, its mere existence adds significant impact to Blue's words.
Number 5. Mortal Kombat 11. Today's the day, skullfucker. Now, as you can probably guess from looking over at any of the gore-soaked material from the Mortal Kombat franchise, things that happen in this game aren't exactly going to be a stroll by the canal with a lover hand in hand, and more akin to actually taking that lover and drowning them in the canal, but the canal is now made of bubbling acid. What I'm trying to say is that life and death comes at you pretty bloody fast in the Mortal Kombat games, so you better leave a good impression, as it may very well be your last. This is clearly why so many combatants love to taunt, mock, and downright humiliate their opponents opponent before even sparring, as even if they die, those lines of cutting dialogue will live on rent-free in their foe's brain. And when it comes to unbelievably savage put-downs, there are few as proficient in the matter as Spawn, who deals as much damage to his opponent before the battle starts as he will do ripping them limb from limb moments after. I tell ya, it is a good thing that Shao Kahn is wearing that fancy face mask of his, because he'd be the colour of beetroot without it after hearing Spawn's retort to his "over my dead body" line, which is
Over my dead body. Today's the day, skull.
It's an all-timer of a line, isn't it? That is an absolute belter. If Keith David actually said that to me, I'd give up immediately.
Number 4, The Witcher 3 Hatred and Prejudice. The Witcher 3 is one of modern gaming's most adored titles, and for good reason. An epic story, mountains of side content, lovable characters, shout out to Triss Merigold, sex on a stuffed unicorn, talk about being horny, am I right? Why do I say these things? Anyway, the point is, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is superb, and one of its finest qualities is in its writing, which comes as no surprise considering it's based on a series of books. I'm not gonna get the books out as well. Like, I think we've done enough with that. Now, we could sit here sharing wonderful dialogue from this game until Henry Cavill magically turns into Liam Hemsworth. Seriously, how are Netflix going to make that work? But instead, I'm going to cut things short and say the very best line comes upon finishing the main story. An ending sequence plays out with Geralt of Rivia opening up about his philosophies on the human condition, delivering this line.
Hatred and prejudice will never be eradicated, and witch hunts will never be about witches. To have a scapegoat, that's the key.
It's as profound as it is, sadly, true. It's in our nature to focus our scorn on a target, and usually one that is hopelessly outnumbered. We're pack animals, and anyone ostracized from the majority is all too aware of that. As an outsider, Geralt feels this injustice every day of his life, and eloquently explains the cruelty he's subject to with a grace and wisdom we wretched beings don't deserve. Sorry to get all deep on you there. Please enjoy this moment of Geralt being flippant to Lambert.
Wanna hear a limerick?
Sure,
Lambert, what a prig.
not bad.
Number 3, Transistor. Who gets to go first? How about me? Now, Transistor is one of those beautiful experiences that just stimulates all of your senses. The outstanding artwork melds Art Nouveau and cyberpunk delightfully. The soundtrack will echo through the halls of your mind for months, and of course that combat is so deliciously slick that you will slide from encounter to encounter with absolute glee. And that's to say nothing of the dialogue that is present here, which, while minimal compared to some other RPG experiences, makes sure that its cuts comprise of solely greatest hits only, and in the case of the final battle against Royce, the absolute coldest. Upon finally piecing together the mystery of who you are, what's going on, and why the bloody hell your sword can talk, you must now put it all on the line against Royce, a figure who doesn't immediately strike fear in your heart, but will totally chill your soul with this one line of dialogue.
Who gets to go first? How about me?
Now, what makes this line so potently pant-filling is the fact that up until this point you've probably adopted the same stance with all of the other game's bosses. You've let them waffle on about how they're going to end you, that you've immediately frozen time and stacked up a ton of attacks and traps. But Royce here, well, there's a slight twist in that he has the exact same powers as you and does the exact same thing you were planning to do, aka freezes you in time, and all you can do is watch him as he comes closer, drops everything that he's got in his arsenal on your doorstep, and then just flips you the V's and says, have some fun with that. As he decimates your health bar, you're left on the back foot immediately, and then begin the battle scrambling for healing opportunities and counterattacks. And it is a glorious battle all set up by a stone-cold killer of an opening line.
Number 2, Persona 5 Royal, I will carve my own path. Now, I love Persona 5 Royal. I love it so much I own it 4 times in addition to the original Persona 5, and one of the countless reasons I so adore it is in its character interactions. In addition to the game's dungeon crawling and turn-based combat, there's ample opportunity to get to know the in-game characters through its social sim elements, one of them being Goro Akechi. Now, if you've not played Persona 5 Royal, this is an official spoiler warning. Seriously, if you don't want to know what happens, skip to the next section with Jules, because this game is literally perfect and I do not want to ruin it for anybody. Okay, here we go. As the game develops, you have the opportunity to make a strong yet complex bond with Akechi, Early on, he serves as an antagonist to main character Joker, but there's an alliance between the two that's somewhat reminiscent of Light and L from Death Note. Tragedy strikes though, and Akechi sacrifices himself to save Joker and the rest of the Phantom Thieves. It's a hard moment to take, but there's much more work to be done, so we soldier on. However, Akechi eventually returns, one of several indicators that things are not as they should be. As the game reaches its final stages, we learn we're in a dream reality. Everything is perfect, opportunities are plenty, there's always something fun to do, and the dead have returned to us. Main character Joker discovers the cause of this and is left with a moral choice: stay in this sham existence or wake up and face reality. The game lets you make this choice, directly affecting how it ends. And the crushing weight of the responsibility that comes with this is almost too much to bear. However, Akechi, who is aware he shouldn't be alive anymore, makes the decision easier with this stirring speech.
I will carve my own path for myself. I refuse to accept a reality concocted by someone else, stuck under their control for the rest of my days.
His bravery here is inspiring. In the face of certain doom, Akechi would rather face certain death than choose to live by someone else's distorted vision. I can tell you now that any doubts I had were vanquished the moment he said this line, and I never looked back thanks to his courage and conviction. Truly a video game line for the ages.
And number 1, Disco Elysium. The first death is in the heart, Harry. So here we are at the head of our list, and in all honesty, for the longest time it was incredibly tough to pick who would be placed in pole position. Would it go to a succinct line that hit like lightning, a powerful snippet that lives on in our minds rent-free, or just be something so emotionally devastating that it would rock the player to their core? Well, along came Disco Elysium and said yes to all of the above. This game is, without hyperbole, the king of dialogue. It is a title in which every choice, every phrase, and every snide, self-hating remark has been reworked and twisted so that each cuts with surgical precision. From musing on the state of the world to the nature of mankind and even comedic put-downs as you argue with your own brain, Disco Elysium is a game that savours its dialogue like a fine wine. And spilling the whole bottle down himself in a desperate attempt to get drunk is the one and only Harry Dubois, the absolute loser that you will be piloting throughout this game. Now, to say that Hazza has got some personal issues to work through is like saying that the Necronomicon might not be a good bedtime reading story for your 5-year-old nephew. Again, whoops on that one. Which is a bit of an understatement. It's clear that his life is one of regret and pain, and all of which is expressed to the player in agonizing detail, including a dream sequence in which he relives his partner breaking up with him, and caps off the situation with "Real darkness has love for a face, the first death is in the heart, Harry." Now, this scene highlights how Harry was dragging Dora down with him on his path of self-destruction, and the greatest pain imaginable is that of heartbreak, to know love and then to lose it. It is a shockingly real moment in a game admittedly full of them. It is like a sorbet experience, except the sorbet is cocaine, because it will leave you hyper aware of your own reality and your own lament if you've gone through this yourself. I love and hate how vulnerable and emotionally raw this game made me. But just for that reason alone, the fact that it was able to dig right deep into my shell, well, it deserves all the praise in the world, especially this absolute classic line. And there we go, my friends. Those were the 10 coldest lines of video game dialogue ever. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. A massive thank you to James Daly for helping me out with today's list. I couldn't have done it without him, and I want to do more collaborative efforts like this with the rest of the FGS team, so keep your peepers peeled on the channel for more excellent combinations soon. And if you want to chat to us on the social medias, you can do so by following us here on all of our little tags for James and Tommy, who I'm assuming has flipped the script and the screen once more again into the warp, my friend. But you can also follow me over on Threads, where I'm at RetroJ, Gonna give it a try. Just gonna give it a try, my friends, all right? But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though we spoke today about the coldest lines of video game dialogue, why don't we warm ourselves up with a bit of positivity to end this list and remind ourselves that we deserve love and happiness. We all do as human beings, alright? And you deserve all the best things in life, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise. You are a massive legend. I want you to go out there and absolutely smash it today, because I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye. I don't know what's going on with me today, Tommy. Sometimes I wake up and my brain just is about 5 words ahead of where my mouth is. ADHD, I hear you say.